One, two, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Jacobs. Welcome to the Sales Hacker Podcast. We've got a great show today. We've got Alon Waks on the show. He's the VP of Marketing for Bizzabo, and he's going to talk to us all about account-based marketing and how ABM is a team sport, how you do it, how you drive alignment, what the tools you need are, and how to make it effective and positive ROI. So it's going to be a great conversation. ABM is the buzzword of the day, and everybody wants to know about it. Now, before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Showpad. Showpad is the leading sales enablement platform for the modern seller. They are the industry's only unified sales enablement platform combining sales content, training, coaching, and conversation. So Showpad is essentially a one-stop shop for your sales team to prep and deliver the best buying experiences for your client. They work with an incredible amount of integrated partners and systems such as Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, Outreach, Marketo, the Google Suite, Outlook, etc. So figure out if you need some kind of integrated solution. If you do, to train and deliver the right information at the right time to your sales team, you need Showpad. It's showpad.com/saleshacker to learn more. Showpad.com/saleshacker. Second sponsor is Outreach, the leading sales engagement platform. Outreach supports sales reps by enabling them to humanize communication at scale, from automating the soul-sucking manual work that eats up selling time to providing action-oriented tips on what communications are working best. Outreach has your back. And of course, one last plug for Revenue Collective. It's the organization that I run when I'm not hosting the podcast. We're now in 7 cities. We just launched Indianapolis. So we're in New York, London, Boston, Toronto, Denver, Amsterdam, and Indianapolis. We're going to be opening Los Angeles pretty soon, and then hopefully San Francisco. But if you're interested, if you are a VP level or above commercial operator and you want to learn more about Revenue Collective, just get in touch with me at LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/in and then /Sam F. Jacobs. Now, without further ado, let's listen to this week's show and my interview with Alon Waks. Hey everybody, it's Sam Jacobs. Welcome to the Sales Hacker Podcast. I am so excited to have a good friend and one of the great marketers in New York City, Alon Waks, on the show today. Alon is the VP of Marketing at Bizzabo, which is an event management system and candidly, the event management system that Revenue Collective, my company, just signed up to use and to manage all of our events. So we're very excited to have Alon on the show. Alon, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sam. Super happy to be here. Excited.
We're excited to have you. We're going to talk today about account-based marketing. We're going to talk about marketing strategies, and we're going to have a great conversation. But before we do that, for those folks out there in the universe that don't know who Alon Waks is, we want to learn a little bit more about you. So tell us what Bizzabo is from your perspective.
Wonderful. Bizzabo is a modern twist to how events and live person activities, being in person, can enable you to really focus and align it to your business goals. Meaning there's a lot of event-related software and tools and processes, but they're all focused on managing the event and all the tough things that are there. And that is minimal. That is the 101, the basics that you need. Bizzabo was created to come up with what is called an event success platform that looks at the entity of the attendee, the account, the company, and enables you to look at everything around the intelligence, the data around it, so that you can ensure that the journey of every person around one event, multiple tracks at an event, right agenda, is catered to the person's need. And this enables not just the event manager, who's a wonderful persona in our heroes today, but everybody like myself, leads, heads of marketing, CROs, to cater and draft an event strategy that enables you to focus on different audiences at different times. I'm sure we'll get more into this.
Okay, this sounds fascinating. The company is based in New York, is that right, or somewhere else?
The company is headquartered in New York and has quite a few people back in the Tel Aviv area where it was founded.
Okay. And am I correct? It's about 115 people. Is that accurate?
Yeah. We're over 100 people now, about 120 soon. We have most of our people from the go-to-market side here in New York City and around the US, and most of the technology powerhouse back in the Israel headquarters.
And Israel is indeed a technology powerhouse, as you and I both know.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more. We for those that don't hear the accent, it's an Israeli accent. We love Alon, but where, so presumably, were you born in Israel? Tell us about your life's journey that brought you to this moment in time, sitting here on a podcast with your good friend Sam Jacobs.
Yeah, it's more than just having coffee with Sam. It's about really connecting. So here's the weird accent. So every time somebody invites me to talk and speak, like they see my name, Alon. Okay, that must be like Israeli. Okay. And then I start speaking, and then it's like, there's something wrong with this accent. It is not a pure Israeli accent as you expect, but it rather sounds like something like a hybrid or mishmash. So I'm Israeli originally. I grew up in South Africa for about 6 to 7 years,
Oh, I
and
didn't know that.
therefore the hybrid accent that's not really pure Israeli, and then 13 years in the US. So think about me as the melting pot, pretty much, of accents.
You are the embodiment of everything that America stands for, perhaps.
Exactly. Here I am.
So, and what's your background? How long have you been doing marketing? How did you get into this? Give us the high level summary details, but we're interested in how you arrived in this position.
Very long journey. So marketing is something that I think came about without knowing, that I didn't know how to put my finger on it and say, I like marketing. But what I did do is this. In the army, I was exposed to technology in different ways. I served in the Israeli army, like everybody. And
Thank you for your service.
of course, it doesn't matter which service it is, as long as you serve, right? It's all one cause. Yeah, and so the army exposed me to technology, and then I decided to go and learn a bit of more tech, like doing computer science and economics, but as opposed to most people, I couldn't find myself being like a great computer related technology guy, whether a software engineer or computer guy, or it wasn't me. So I did consulting for many years. And consulting helped me understand two things. It helped me understand the positive, which is I like to do things which are customer facing, but build them the right solutions, whether they're a service or product that get value. That was cool. And I dabbed in a lot of different projects. But I also learned something that is also true, which is consulting may be cool, but you lack the end ownership and accountability of executing the project. It always falls on the client. So you can consult as much as you want, but at the end of the day, the client is the accountable and responsible and owns the KPI. And that led me to start moving towards more of a customer facing role in marketing, where I wanted to meet clients, work with people on a one-to-many, one-to-few, we'll talk about that a lot later, and be able to carve messages that are all about value. And without knowing that, I did these roles in different companies, and then it started to become marketing. And that's how I got to marketing, and have been in marketing over 15 years now.
That's a great story. And so you alluded to it. I think there may be many different definitions of marketing, but yours is the message. Is that the emphasis for you on what it means to do marketing?
Yeah. So let's define marketing to what it means to the audiences in the world. There's B2B and B2C marketing, which luckily, and one of the things I love, they are starting to blend in their go-to-market strategy and tactics. Marketing usually means putting something in front of an audience in a consumable manner that will relate some emotional or some quantifiable thing that gets them to do something, getting an action. It's about a message, it's about a brand, it's about buy this, don't do this, do that. It's about relating to an audience by value messages and so forth. That's how I see marketing and the way I look at it. Marketing in B2B is usually around how do you drive a sophisticated or complex story in a simpler, in a conveyable manner to a specific audience or persona that they relate to it. Similarly, in B2C, how do you relate a car, a beer, a magazine, a product, a soap, doesn't mean detergent, in an exciting yet consumable manner that's not just about price. It's about differentiating on value and not going to price.
So when you think about, let's talk about B2B for a second. It seems like, so part of it is distilling the message, but part of it is also, of course, using tools and technology perhaps to deliver that message at a specific point in time. It seems like such a wide-ranging and all-encompassing discipline. How do you think about developing expertise in it? Do you have to focus in a specific area and round out areas where you lack expertise or competence with support staff? How do you think about becoming a VP of marketing and what that means?
Yeah, that's a fair point to look at. First of all, it's about where does the audience go? The number one thing you need to think about, and then you build your strategy, and then you add the components, resources, consultants to help you define and execute the strategy. If you're, for example, a B2B company, software, SaaS, depends who you are, enterprise, SMB, all different. You need to think about, where is my audience living, breathing, and where do they go, or where can you make them go? That helps you define the kind of marketing strategy you need to do. Example of this is very different if it's somebody that goes shops for B2C items at a store versus going online, direct to consumer versus Amazon, all the way to the IBMs and Microsofts and the other big companies of the world, which really go one-to-one for enterprise companies, use channel and education and do like high-end stuff, relationship marketing as well. So the spectrum is very broad. But once you define the spectrum, let's say B2B mid-market, which is my focus mainly now in mid-market enterprise, is you understand that there are tactics and you don't know. For example, I can define storytelling. I can tell a great message to a great audience. That's one of my strengths. But I am not very creative. And my design is, my team and everybody always laughs at me, is there's Alon design and then there's real design. Alon design is like my son who's 6 years old. We're relatively on the same level of design capabilities. and I know that I'm not a great designer. You know what? Also, so you build support, and I can gladly go into the ideal team long term and short term. Where do you compromise? You build support system of people that can help you, challenge you, but also can complement you with amazing skills like design, like creative, like a real content writing editorial person. Usually that complements your head of marketing or CMO, because they can go in depth and do long form writing. Most of us that are more senior do short term writing, tell a story, but not going to write the 4, 5, 10 pages of research. And you also get people that are experts in the ability to do digital in a modern way, more outbound versus inbound, really go deep into a holistic 360-degree approach of targeting a persona or targeting a company by leveraging different digital tools, which are becoming more and more and more and more abundant today. So that's usually how I look at it.
Let's talk about the evolution of marketing. You've been doing it, I think you mentioned, for 15 years. I would imagine that the channels have changed, that some things that work today were not in vogue yesterday, and things that worked yesterday don't work anymore today. And one of those big things is account-based marketing. And so, first of all, it would be useful to get your perspective on why account-based marketing is so discussed and talked about today, and what it means, and then we can move on to how you execute an ABM strategy.
Yeah. So why don't we start at the very beginning? It's a very good place to start. Where this ABM thing came, it became the buzzword du jour, right? So let's take back 10 years. There was like omni-channel, and there was like multi-channel and digital, mobile. Every year, everybody said, this is a year of mobile. It's been the year of mobile for 20 years. And now this thing called ABM is now really the hot potato. Every trade show, every company talks about it in the mid-market enterprise software. So why is ABM so hot? The reason is 3 things that affect us as people, consumers, and businesses. 1, the abundance and noise of digital. We have had enough. This is something that is not going to work when you do the one-to-many traditional approach of people. You want to spend in search marketing, you want to spend in social marketing, you want to spend in this inbound content channel. Flipping the funnel is actually critical today, because you spend a lot of money at the top of the funnel. It is lots of noise in digital, in display, in search, all that, and it's very hard to get to a qualified audience today because of so many things going on and so many publications and so much news going on. So it's hard.
So, and when for definitional sake for the audience, when you're talking about digital, and you sort of alluded to it, but you mean AdWords, you mean search engine marketing, you mean Facebook display, Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising, maybe even LinkedIn advertising. Is that all that you mean, or do you also mean thought leadership, content creation, creating white papers and ebooks and gated content and things like that? So sort of the traditional demand gen playbook. That is what is less and less effective?
Correct, with a little bit of an explanation. We need to make sure we don't confuse content with how we serve it. Distribution has changed. Distribution of old is, I have a white paper. it appeals to this audience, which is maybe a vertical or maybe a persona, maybe the entire segment of mid-market financial services, let's say. I serve it out and throw it out with tons of money for HQLs, high quality leads that are going to say, I am now downloading this white paper. That's okay. That's not a bad strategy, but you cannot do that at scale anymore because it still is a digital. AdWords, social, LinkedIn, which is very good, you have to think about them in a strategic, cohesive view. Rather than go think about the channel and going by people, go by the accounts that you want to serve, i.e., you want to think about a smaller, lookalike model of the companies that you know are a best fit for you by signals like they're the right size, they're the right persona, they've done the right hiring, they're looking for the right things, they're showing intent. Intent, this is point number 2. Intent marketing is matured a lot with intelligence, AI, and everything around digital signals collection. So instead of throwing a broad net of AdWords, SEM for the inbound strategy and content, you want to take that content and do it much more personalized and targeted towards a selective smaller group, which is what I call not one to many, but one to few. And that is the role of marketing today, to go more targeted.
So how do you do that? How do you move from one to many to one to few?
Sure. One to many, an example of one to many would say, I have a page on our website that is for all the financial services companies, and I do a lot of SEM, PPC related, and spend on digital tactics to bring people into they like what they see, and then they convert. That is a traditional one-to-many approach, organic or paid. The one-to-few approach means I'm taking the top 1,000 or 500, depends on the segment, mid-market and enterprise financial services that A, have the right 3 to 4 to 5 people, persona, titles, what is sometimes called as a decision group, in the company that I know usually buy or have a need for something like me. I look for different signals. I score them on an account basis by connecting to intent-based algorithmic tools in the world that I can go into examples later. I look at where they're going to webinars and events and where they're actually doing things, kind of like unofficial stalking to understand where these kind of people go. And then I only target them in a collective integrated campaign manner. Emails, send them display, but only targeted display. I align the message to them like a nurture, top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and so forth. I give them things that are much more relevant to these people by vertical, by persona, by stage, by intent, versus doing a lot much more broad spray and pray tactic, which is not a modern B2B approach.
So I have a question.
Of course.
It sounds complicated and expensive. So here, let me react to the following statement. ABM is a euphemism for simply the fact that customer acquisition cost has increased.
It is not a complete sentence. Why? Here's why. No, this is good. This is getting into numbers, and I love numbers. So if you spend, for example, let's say you're spending 1/6 of your ACV, your annual contract value, on marketing acquisition, meaning before you put this person to a BDR or before you give it to a rep, if it's warm enough or qualified, marketing qualified account is the metric.
Is 1/6 the right number?
It depends on what, if you're mid-market enterprise, your lifetime value, but anywhere between a 4th to an 8th is good. I go for 8th, but 1/6 is fine. So it's,
okay, so $60,000 deal, we're spending $10,000 on marketing per customer to acquire them.
Correct, but fully acquire. That is the marketing fully loaded cost, including your headcount and everything else. Let's assume,
but no sales expense in there.
That's right. No sales expense yet. Okay, so that's a 6. Okay, so you have for 12-month CAC return, you've spent 2 months on this. These are very, very targeted, very qualified, and it's all about your win rate and your conversion rate. And you bring them to an event and they come to your webinar, they become a speaker, which is one of my famous tactics. I love to invite them to be speakers and meet people like them in a small setting, very intimate, because Bizzabo and me are all about in person. Then you think like, oh man, you spend $10,000 on a cost per SQL from marketing, but then they convert at like 33 to 50% all the way down the funnel. We're not going to get into stages now. Then your total CAC, including sales and everything, is not bad because your conversion rates, you're being very targeted. So the numbers to look at are not just your cost of acquisition per each close. You want to look at your total marketing spend fully loaded overall and look at how well you're doing for these ones. So it's not about the numbers, it's about your percentages of how many. So for example, you're going for 500 to 1,000 companies and you converted them at 5 times the rate you would have converted inbound. It's okay to spend 3 times as much, which is usually what you'll see.
Interesting. Okay. How do you get good at this? I mean, it feels like this is a new discipline. It does not feel like this has been around 20 years. Hiring Alon to be VP of Marketing at Bizzabo, what is my realistic expectation on how much you already know, and how do you make sure that you're up to speed on the latest and greatest?
Yeah. Well, first of all, a lot of it is luck, but it's not just luck. It's about, trying to be curious. Here's the thing. ABM has been talked about for many years, and then without even being called ABM, I've done it 4 or 5 years ago as well. But it's now much more mature with a lot of tools and modern writing and examples, and everybody saying I've done it. I'll tell you, I haven't cracked the code on ABM. No way. Every market, every company, every persona, every decision group is different. How do you understand what are the latest and greatest? You listen to people like myself, my others that are trying to do it well. You work very hard with your VP sales. You must be aligned on the list, because if you
should join Revenue Collective, right?
You'll have to join Revenue Collective because that is the only home for marketers today. Executives. Well, it's true. There's no matter, and this is also a consultative approach, which is part of ABM. You're not just going to tell people, look at our great product before you know what they're looking for and what is their pain. It's one-on-one account-based selling, which is a line to account-based marketing. That's how they all came together. Learning about ABM today is really being connected to how people are implementing it. And my number one recommendation to people around ABM from a software perspective is don't buy tools before you understand and try out your list, the target accounts, optimize it, understand your messaging. You cannot be a slave to the tool. The tool is to be aligned to your strategy.
Yes. Well, that's so true. I mean, so many times when I'm consulting with companies, they say, we need a demand gen person. And I say, but you don't even know what your messaging or positioning is. So what are we supposed to put in the ads? What are we writing the white paper about? So I think understanding what you stand for is the first thing that needs to happen. You've mentioned in the past, ABM is a team sport. Tell us what you mean by that.
So think about this. Let's say you have an amazing marketing team, kick ass, know the messaging, know the persona, do it all amazing every day. And they decide we're doing this amazing ABM program around 200 target accounts. We're going to choose them. We're going to send them stuff. We're going to do direct mail. We're going to do a roadshow. We're going to do nice dinners and that. But your BDRs and your sales guys work on a completely different list.
Salesmen and women.
Yeah, salesmen and women, correct. Your sales team work
Yes.
on event. So one of your sales people, let's say, she decides that she's working on these top 20 accounts. That's hers. And that's fine because aligned with her manager and aligned with her VP. And she's prospecting into them with her BDR, let's say 20 to 50 accounts, target accounts, mid-market, and enterprise. And we are, for marketing at the same time, let's say we're going for a complete different set of clients, prospects. That doesn't make any sense because you're not doing an integrated approach to them with a one-to-one and one-to-few. Marketing cannot do the one-to-one personalized, ask for consultation, give examples, and go in depth. We can do great examples of here's the prospect, here's a case study, here's the direct mail, here's a provocative video, here's the event. You have to have alignment between your VP marketing and VP sales on what the list and the list definition is. And once you do that, you define the criteria and define what are called the warm to cold scale. Work first on the warm accounts and then the cold accounts by each tier of companies. That is extremely important because otherwise marketing runs ABM in a silo. It's not going to convert.
That makes perfect sense.
I try.
How do you, I hear you on the conversion rates. I understand, but you spend money in marketing before you see the result by definition. And so how does a company dip their toe? If you're an early stage company and you're precious with your capital and you need to demonstrate results, implementing a robust ABM strategy would seem pretty daunting to me if we're talking about 3 times customer acquisition cost relative to traditional demand generation strategies, even though we know that the traditional stuff, meaning the thing that's 5 years old, isn't working as well as it used to. So I know that I have to do ABM. I knew I have to do events and steak dinners, and I need to do targeted displays, and I need to host user conferences, and I need to send things in direct mail. But I'm scared because it is so significantly more expensive. So how do I experiment with ABM in a cost-effective way?
Very good. I would start with what I call ABM Lite. ABM Lite does not mean you need to do the steak dinners yet. ABM Lite does not mean, first of all, user conferences a bit later. It means that you want to focus on the one-to-few, not one-to-few and one-to-one. Look for 500 companies. Start with an interesting and compelling value-based approach of email, display, A/B tested all the time so that you're not blowing out your numbers, so that your cost per qualified account is still low and not much higher than it would be from a one-to-many approach. Look at the signals people are clicking. Look at the scoring, optimize the scoring. Once you're seeing trends, just like with everything, because marketing is making decisions with limited data, then start taking those that have gone to and shown you some intent for them to do the deeper, more expensive ABM. Invite them to be speakers at your events. Invite them to another steak, maybe tuna dinner. Invite them to join your field event at a trade show. These kind of things. Invite them to be a webinar or a podcast speaker for you, because that's important.
What am I trying to sell you right now?
Are you trying to sell me about staying with you connected on Revenue Collective, best place in the world? So basically what I'm saying is start with the one-to-few. I, for example, love to do what I call themes. These are a collection of programs and campaigns that focus on a specific vertical persona or two personas sometime, and then also on something interesting, like, for example, displacing an incumbent or a very specific big event like Dreamforce or others. I want to have a multi-program, multi-campaign theme that is usually for 2 quarters, and it is maybe 1,000 to 2,000 to 5,000 companies that are very similar lookalike model. And for them, you do this ABM Lite. You don't send direct mail to 2,000 companies. That makes no sense. Out of those, you choose the tier 1, maybe 250 companies, depends how many sellers you have. And then you send them the direct mail, you align it to one-to-one BDR work, you give them the tool, the assessment, the ROI tool, the consultancy tool, you invite them to a discovery consultation half days. That's how I would do it. I would do a tiering between one-to-few to one-to-one. That is the only way that will work.
What is your favorite piece of direct mail that you're sending right now?
It's not sent yet, so I'm not able to explain because I don't want people to know yet. I'll tell you the examples I've done recently. We did a great bagel drop, which was one of the taglines we used at the prior company, was around everything around the customer. And then we chose, it was a lot of New York companies. The everything bagel made a lot of sense because everything bagel, everything around the customer. And
also, bagel is round.
Yeah, exactly. The bagel is round, 360 degrees. You can look through it and you see a customer bullseye. There's a lot of things you can do with a bagel. It's a very exciting piece of food. And then, so we went for very simple and also about, you also need to think about the mentality of the client. So is it an executive that you want to do a very high-end, very funny, very cool piece that comes to them only and it makes them push down to the person that you want your decision maker? Or is it for the team? You want to show love to a team, like, for example, the events team or the customer experience team or the marketing team. That's where the bagels came in, for the team lead, but also the entire team. We want to serve you bagels and fun on a Friday. That's on us, and then invite you guys a CTA. There always has to be a CTA for direct mail. Meet us or come to an event, one of those. So that was a cool one. We're working on our Bizzabo, which is the Bizzabo box. And that's TBD. I cannot say what's going to be in it. That's going to be one of our...
Some fun things, though.
Yeah, but it's all around... It all has to be actionable. Just having swag or here's the iPad cover. Meet us if you want to get the iPad. Yawn. I don't think that those things work. I think it's not just about the gift. It's about how the gift relates to the person, how the gift relates to your solution, because we all want to be intrigued by smart, funny, or very creative ways.
That makes sense. Okay. Another I don't know if this is controversial. You'll probably, maybe you'll agree with me. But here's the problem. I find executives and CFOs, non-marketers and non-salespeople, perhaps, they want this very rigorous. They want a binary world of attribution. They want to know exactly where every customer came from, as if people make decisions based on one touch point. But the reality is that, especially with an ABM strategy, the sales team and the marketing team are going after accounts. And so, understanding the ROI, quote unquote, of marketing or a specific campaign becomes much more difficult. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree? And then how do you position marketing ROI in the most effective, comprehensive way back to the CEO when they're pounding the table for what is the ROI in this campaign, but it doesn't really work like that in many cases, or maybe it does. What do you think?
Yeah, so very, very good point. This is one of my current challenges, and I'm going to tell you, I don't think anybody has cracked the code on marketing clear attribution completely from not just ABM, but outbound themes, ABM Lite, everything I talked about. And here's why this is it. Point number one, ABM and outbound focus marketing usually works when the company goes a little bit more upmarket, starts going really into enterprise, and therefore your ACV grows a lot. And that's why you're willing to spend more and be more targeted and know that it's a consultative sell. In order to do that, it is usually, as I mentioned, a good alignment between sales and marketing on the target list, and then one-to-one by the sales and BDRs, while marketing provides what is called a cover, that is our main goal now, is what you do. So now, how do you measure a cover? Well, attribution comes in this way. What I do is I look at the funnel as something that we, marketing, need to warm up these accounts. They're not always going to be hot leads knocking on our doors as demos. That is part of it, but that's not the number one goal, which is usually what inbound is focused on. Pay $250, $300,000 across a company. They come inbound, they get a demo, done. Very clear attribution. That world is not relevant for outbound upmarket. In outbound upmarket, what you look at is this. You look at MQAs, marketing for qualified accounts. Your funnel is still a funnel, but it's an account-based funnel. So you're looking, for example, at a program around, here's the 500 companies that we're targeting for this year, and we're going to do a lot of engagement around them. You want them to, what I've named it is called surging. You want them to surge, and you score them on activity and behavior around it. Once they've reached a threshold, that is when you define them as an MQA, marketing qualified account. And then two things happen. A, you can attribute win rate, close rate, cost per, and velocity. I look for every ABM program to bring 100 MQAs a month. And those need to go to the sales as prioritized.
Wait, hold on. 100 MQAs a month means from a list of 1,000, we've warmed up, we've surged, we've kind of gotten them, we've shifted their emotional and psychological state 100 times a month. Is that right? Per account, or can there be multiple contacts per account?
No. So let's say you have a list of 1,000, which is nice. That's a big list. You should slice it by verticals, incumbent, displacement, doesn't matter. So a list of 1,000, let's simplify. 100 MQAs every month means you have had out of these 1,000 target accounts, 100 accounts that have reached a qualification level. So scoring for an account base is different. It doesn't mean that Sam, for example, who is a target persona or maybe a secondary persona, has done an extremely hard and very impressive action on downloading 3 white papers and then requesting a demo. That could make it qualified. It could also mean that Alon, Sam, David, and Joe, Sally, and one more person each did one action, but as a company, we're seeing a lot of surging and activity that shows us that the decision group and the right personas, that's why I also include fit score and a persona-based score, that shows enough activity to say, there's something going on here. This is a warm account. Sales, go prioritize this over a cold account. I see that as what is the A cover role of marketing, and I measure it by MQAs, marketing qualified accounts.
That makes sense. I get it. You've mentioned building a team, hiring people that complement you, and one of your themes is don't delay top hires. Tell us, why you think that and how you've implemented it, Bizzabo, if you have, in terms of like the key reports, the key staff members that you need on a high functioning marketing organization in order to deliver, this ABM funnel that we're all trying to build.
Yeah, so you always learn things in retrospect, and you think and you learn from your past. The one thing I've really learned about, especially in a high clock rate and place that's demanding like every startup, which is good because that's where we go to it, is usually pretty soon, either when you join, maybe even before, or relatively quickly after like 1 quarter in as a marketing lead, where your gaps are. And that's okay. Sometimes you know your gaps and you fill them in because you know how. Sometimes you know that you have a plan towards it, maybe budget, maybe headcount, whatever, but you take actions. The number one thing I've learned, and I've also tried to teach myself all the time, is identify the gaps quickly and try to make sure that one of the things you align on with your CEO and CFO are here are the things that are going to be critical in the path to success on getting 2 quarters out, really strong ABM success, warm accounts, content that makes sense, events that make sense, all of that. I try to do this as quickly as I can. Doesn't always work, but try. I would recommend to do it before you join the company and then optimize 1 quarter in.
Okay. You've mentioned that events. I mean, you're obviously working at what did you call? What is the category called? Event.
So it's
not an
event
management system.
software, and we are in Event Success Cloud and Event Success Platform.
Okay, got it. Event Success Platform. Okay. So your perspective is that events and maybe community more broadly, but specifically events, are some of the most effective marketing ROI channels that we can deploy. But I think a lot of folks look at them as pretty expensive. What's your perspective on the cost of an event and, the value of an event?
Sure. I feel very strong about it. I mean, this is why when Bizzabo reached out to me, I actually decided to join. So I focus, as marketing, I think should a lot of time do, on experience and engagement, especially in the outbound and ABM world. That is our goal: air cover, engagement, and showing that what we do resonates with the audience versus making them ask to see the product always. That our goal is engagement. If in-person activities, whether it's a trade show, you meet somebody, a field event, a hosted summit event, a dinner, or even a user conference, are really magical and amazing in the sense of two things. People want to learn from other people. That is a known fact, especially as the person becomes more senior. And we trust, as I've alluded to the ABM rationale, we trust people that are like us versus vendors or digital promotion. The second thing is we want to learn thought leadership and take the time out of work to really focus on something, because we are heads deep, not have time. Events let us learn a little, take a breather and think, and really help you, what is called, get out of the building and reevaluate. Why do I believe in in-person events? In-person events, have the best ROI, not just for mid-funnel, bottom funnel, but also top of the funnel for me, which is amazing in B2B. This is why. You can spend 10, 15, even maybe less, $1,000 on a small summit in your office or somewhere with a partner or somewhere with one of your clients even, and let them be the hero, and do a 2-hour, 3-hour panel event with one keynote. It takes tons of work. You need the right team and the right mentality and the right angle and anchor. Angle means an interesting story, an interesting topic, something cool, a cool location. Anchor means you have the right speakers, somebody that people will look up to and want to learn from. And then you place your clients, because they are the people you care about the most, and your top prospects, which are your future clients, because you care about them also the most, after your employees, which are the best people in the world. And you bring them together as a community. And when you do this repeatedly around a theme like direct-to-consumer, or around in-person connection, or around experiential marketing, things I've done recently, magic happens. People come together, they speak, they network. You always run a bit late because people want to keep talking to each other and not just hear the next speaker. And this really shows, usually you get over 15x ROI. You can get even up to 30. I've had more than that even. And it is an impressive way to drive influence and top of the funnel, very top end, upmarket enterprise companies to start learning about you from a thought leadership perspective. I'm a true believer.
When you say 30x ROI, but that plays out over time, I would imagine maybe you're measuring it a year later or something like that.
Yeah, so it depends on the sales cycle, of course, and your everything around the size of the target audience. But I start measuring really, I want to see 1 quarter out. I want to see pipeline. I want to see progression. I want to be able to see close rate. I want to see win rate. I want to see influence rates because not everybody is new. And so you want to look at how many bottom of the funnel or late stage companies are coming in and then they're closing due to this activity. So yeah, you got to measure it at least 3, 6, 9 months out in order to see the progression. And then you optimize and you know more.
We've got a few more minutes. I want to ask a few more questions and then also figure out who your influences are and who's impacted you and who you think we should know about. But we are talking, you mentioned you need to get your messaging down and you need to have a point of view and you need to start with a list and work it before you start buying a bunch of tools. But you do at some point probably do need to buy a bunch of tools. Mm-hmm. When you can name the vendors or not, but more interested in the categories, what are the categories of tools that you've installed in your tech stack to deploy a modern marketing strategy?
Sure. So let's look at, I always map the buyer journey. I think this is very important. Doesn't matter what software you use. It's about the buyers, which is now not just a persona, but it's an account. What are your primary, secondary influencer personas? Go deep, go broad. This is very important before you start doing anything. Take your time, talk to them, understand them. Don't just buy a tool, as I mentioned a few times already. The tools that I believe in are this. First of all, you have to have a strong marketing automation and CRM. We use Salesforce and we use HubSpot, and we're happy with both. But it's not just about the tool, it's how you use it. So it's about connection, integration, the scoring, the sophistication, the workflows. Every tool has pros and cons, not the topic of today. And we also use something like Lean Data in order to translate the lead to an account world, because you need to be able to focus on the same language in the same atomic unit across your marketing, sales, and service clouds. And that is one thing that is still challenging, I believe, today to a go-to-market organization. You do a BM at the top, but what happens in Salesforce, what happens afterwards, and so forth. So that stack is very important. I would say one more piece of the puzzle, event software, obviously important, but I'm biased naturally, but everything around in-person. So you need something to host your webinars, your podcasts, your in-person events in a smart ABM manner and have a full integration and analytics, because every touch point and every data point, whether it's an event, whether it's a webinar, whether it's on digital, whether it's an email, whether it's in person on a flight, you need to be able to capture and make it actionable. So those are very important tools. And the third is intent-based, the modern wave, which are ABM tools. I'm not going to go into which one, but those are things you should consider after you know that your ABM is working at a small scale.
Makes a lot of sense. Alon, let's pay it forward a little bit. When you think about people that have influenced you, great sales leaders, great marketing leaders, who are some of the folks that you think we should know about?
Okay, sure. Marketing, I'll start first. I had a mentor of mine many years ago when I was at LivePerson and I had global marketing. Anurag Wadera, amazing guy, now at Google. He wasn't only a good mentor and friend, but also somebody that we could... Why do we get along well? Is because we could throw ideas and challenge each other in a positive manner. And we could really go to war together on interesting, cool, big ideas and big things, and not just the dry things that you have to do. So I really appreciated him challenging me, and I appreciated when I challenged back him, the whole company, because that's just who I am. He was okay with it and helped me get along. So that was cool. And I think you asked about salespeople as well, right? Who are some of my top revenue or growth. Vikas and Erica, I'm going to give a shout out to. I think they're both incredible. Vikas Bambi and I work together at 3 different companies, and we are the kind of head of sales and head of marketing that can go have a few beers and have fun, and then can get into a room and beat each other up, but then we go to bed all together any day. So I like that a lot. I think
very intimate.
Yeah, different story, different day. Yeah. So I believe that your sales and marketing leaders need to not be PC, but need to hash it out, have beers or whatever ways to engage each other, go for a run, whatever. As long as you must be able to be very candid and even sometimes lose all the bullshit between the two and be like straightforward and call each other out in a polite but in a very actionable way. We don't have time, and nobody has the luxury to bullshit. And Erica Schultz, who was the head of sales and field at LivePerson at the time, we worked 3 years together. I think she was great at looking at total strategy and really evangelizing and hiring the right people in order to propel a company forward. I respected a lot what she did, and I think she's one of them.
This is the woman that's is she Chief Revenue Officer of New Relic right now?
Yeah, she's the head of New Relic.
She's very well known. Yeah. Alon, thank you for your time on the Sales Hacker podcast. If folks are out there, maybe they're marketers that are interested in learning more, or maybe they're people that want to work for you, or maybe they want to purchase Bizzabo, can people get in touch with you? And if so, what is your preferred method of communication?
Of course, happy to help people when I have the time, and obviously happy to tell them about us and myself. LinkedIn is usually my preferred manner. I believe it's usually, my name is always the same. My email can always change. So just look at LinkedIn.
And so for those out there listening, it's Alon, Alon, and then Waks, Waks, right?
That's correct.
Perfect. Alon, thanks so much for being on the show. And we'll talk to you on Friday for Friday Fundamentals.
All right, man. All the best. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, it's Sam Jacobs, and this is Sam's Corner. Fantastic interview with Alon Waks, who's a good friend, a member of Revenue Collective, and the VP of Marketing at Bizzabo, which I mentioned we use at Revenue Collective to manage our events. Now, Alon mentioned a lot of different things, but what we were really talking about was this concept of ABM, account-based marketing, and how you do it. And he made a couple of key comments, key insights. The first is that you have to understand that the conversion rates are going to improve, and that is how you're going to justify the increase in investment. So ABM is going to cost you more than a traditional demand generation strategy of gated content, search engine marketing, social media marketing, etc. But you're going to have higher conversion rates. Now, the first thing to do before you go out and buy a bunch of tools is you need to get a list. And it's very simple. Who are the folks that you want to go after? Who are the people? And then that needs to be developed in conjunction with the sales team. So sales and marketing need to be going after the same set of accounts. ABM does not work if the sales team is going after one set of accounts and the marketing team is going after another set of accounts, or even just a different group of accounts within the same. Alon mentioned that he works on a quarterly basis. Each quarter, he aligns with the sales team. They figure out what are the themes, what are the campaigns that they're going to deploy against those targeted list of accounts, and then they work them in conjunction. The sales team and the BDR team, in alliance with the marketing team, is focused on delivering a series of messages and events and campaigns through different channels that all are focused on a set of accounts that they have decided are going to be a good fit. Now, he mentioned something else. He mentioned that you have to think about intent data. So intent data is the new category of marketing technology that tells you from your target accounts who are the ones that are going to be most likely to be interested based on, frankly, some of the things that they are doing. So they are doing these things on the internet, and they are leaving digital traces throughout their journey online. And you use those traces to figure out who are going to be the most likely on an account-by-account basis to resonate with your message. So account-based marketing, it's a team sport. There needs to be alliance between the sales team and the marketing team for it to be effective. And make sure that you're thinking about intent data to increase the likelihood that some of those folks become, as Alon said, marketing qualified accounts, MQA. So this has been Sam's Corner. Thanks so much for listening. Of course, we want to thank our sponsors. Our first one is ShowPad, the first unified sales enablement platform. It's a one-stop shop for your sales team to prep and deliver the best buying experiences for your clients. Learn more at showpad.com/saleshacker. Of course, Outreach.io, the leading sales enablement platform. And if you want to get in touch with me, you're free to do so. Thanks for feedback, for comments, for recommendations on guests. It's Sam Jacobs, so that's linkedin.com/the word in, and then /Sam F. Jacobs. And I look forward to hearing from you, and I will talk to you next time.